And by that, I do not mean specifically my videos, the unseen, though I think you should care about those, but more specifically the unseen realm, which is the spirit realm, which we are very much a part of. And as you may already know, like you are a spirit, like you have a spirit that is the real you on the inside. Your soul and spirit are just as much a part of you as your flesh and blood. So why you should care about the unseen. So we're going to do a little exercise. And I'm excited about this. Let's try this out. So we're just going to go on a little bit of an imagination journey where we're just going to picture something, and I'm going to kind of walk you through what this will be like, and then we'll talk about it. All right, so close your eyes, if you will. You don't really have to see me to hear me. What I want you to imagine is you're in a room, and you don't know what this room looks like. This room has absolutely zero light. Like, it's completely black, pitch black. There's no shadows, there's no depth perception, like you can't see anything. Your eyes might be open, they might be shut in this room, you can't tell the difference. That's how dark it is. So imagine you're in that room, complete darkness. Now this room, even though you can't see, I'm just going to tell you, this room has stuff everywhere. There's furniture, like a normal house, like think of that kind of a room, like a normal house room. There's furniture all over the place. There's stuff on the walls. There might be toys all over the floor, just spread out. And maybe even other people. There might even be other people around, but you cannot see a thing. Completely black. So imagine that. Now here's what you have to do. And you're just imagining this. You don't literally have to try to do this. What you're going to do in this room is you have to go from where you're at, and you don't know how big or small this room is, okay? It's just this huge, or maybe very tiny, completely dark room. You have to go from one side to the other, wherever that other side is. You have to make your way over there. You can go as slow as you want, as carefully as you want, and feel around as you go, because that's the best you can do, because you can't see. There's no light at all. So think about that. Think how difficult that would be, how kind of freaky that would be even. Like when you can't see, you're going to move real slow. You're going to be very cautious because, one, you don't want to like stub your toe or hit your shin or bump your knee or trip and fall or whatever, like hit your head on stuff, or step on toys if you have kids or anything like that. Like stepping on Legos or like some of those toys when you aren't ready for it, especially, is a very unpleasant surprise. So just imagine you have to go through this room. You have to feel your way. You cannot see a thing. So here's the thing. For many of us, this is how we treat the unseen, the spirit. We make our way around. You can do stuff. You learn how to like feel with your hands and you're careful. We move around, but most of us, this is how we treat the unseen realm. We don't have a lot of knowledge about what's around us. The best we can do is feel around in the dark, but oftentimes you can't even tell what you're touching. So just like that dark room, when you're trying to go from where you are to the other side, and the spirit, most of the time, because we have not been taught how to, which we'll go into that in the future, what that means and what that could look like in different ways. But without having been taught, most of us have a very, very little understanding of the spirit realm and how things work, how we interact with it, how we operate as people and as sons and daughters of God in the spirit realm. And because of that, we kind of ignore it. And I feel like this is a very sad tragedy that us as Christians, if you're a Christian watching this video, that we would serve and live for God, who is a spirit, and have very little to almost no understanding or wisdom or know-how when it comes to the spirit realm. For most of us, the best we do is pray, which is very spiritual, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the spirit when it comes to prayer. It's kind of as far as it goes, which of course is great. You know, prayer is amazing. But there's like so much more to the unseen that most of us, unless we are shown or taught or we intentionally go after certain things like this, we just don't know. And it's like we're walking around a room that we're unfamiliar with, and it's all dark. It's all dark and you can't see anything, and the best you can do is feel and trip over stuff, and you don't know what you're touching and you don't know what you're stepping on. That's not a pleasant thing, and I think you would agree with me. So the point of these videos, and what we're going to be going into more and more and more, this is just kind of the first step just to introduce the overall subject, is that there is a lot to the unseen, the spirit realm. I'm not going to hit everything, but just like a couple things, like there's angels, there's people, because we are a part of the spirit realm. I don't know if you know that. We're very used to the physical, but we never leave the spirit realm. It's all around us always, and we're very much a part of it. God's there, then there's the devil and demons and all the stuff and all created beings that God has created that might not fit in some of those categories. They exist in the spirit realm. There's a lot going on, and it's all the time around us. And some people get very accustomed to being aware of those things. But what I am very excited about, and what I'm like submitting to you for your consideration and hopefully a stirring of some desire and hunger, is that God actually has designed things and made a way for us to engage with the spirit realm. And there's so much more, that some of it is prayer and even learning how to do prayer better, I'll just say, or with greater awareness. That most of it is just about our awareness being trained to pay attention to what's actually happening in the unseen realm. And so I believe that paying attention to it is the first step. Choosing to pay attention to it is the first step. Training can come. There are different, people or places that can like help train, and some of it's just you being intentional and actually choosing to pursue this, where like you want to grow in your awareness of the spirit and the spirit realm. Just reading the Bible is huge. I would highly recommend that. If you read it from the perspective of like what's really going on in the Word, that's beyond just the normal physical stuff that we generally pay attention to. There's a lot of stuff in there. Just read, there's a bunch of them, but just read the story of Moses and all the stuff that goes on with Moses. There's a lot of crazy stuff, and it's all intimately connected with the spirit realm. So I love it. I want you to come on this journey with me. And just as a scripture, just to kind of like wrap this up, it's in Hebrews 5:14, and I'll just kind of read this to you and highlight some things. So I'm reading out of the Passion Translation. Hebrews 5:14 says this: "But solid food is for the mature, whose spiritual senses perceive heavenly matters, and they have been adequately trained by what they've experienced to emerge with understanding of the difference between what is truly excellent and what is evil and harmful." Now, in the context of everything that it's talking about, I'm not going to do like a whole Bible study, but he's talking about like the teaching and the immature that don't have like in the previous verse, the revelation of righteousness. He talks about they need the milk, like the baby stuff, basically is what he's talking about. And that the meat, the greater things, the mature things, that's for the mature, the solid food. So you've probably heard teaching on that. So that's the greater, kind of in a nutshell, the context of what's being talked about. But notice those words he uses. He says spiritual senses perceive heavenly matters. So heavenly matters is not just, it's in the word, like a heavenly matter. Heaven is of the spirit. It's in the spirit realm. It's where God is. It's where we go. All that stuff, heavenly matters. So for your spiritual senses to perceive heavenly matters, that speaks of an awareness of the Spirit, right? And then after that, it says these senses, these people whose senses perceive heavenly matters, the mature, have been adequately trained by what they've experienced to emerge with understanding. And then it talks, well, of the difference between what is truly excellent and what is evil and harmful. So the mature, who, based on their senses being trained, they have been adequately trained to actually be able to perceive and discern the difference between what is good and righteous and what is evil. And so this can speak to a lot of things, but let that stir your hunger for this, that there is so much in the spirit realm, that God has given us free access in Christ to know and grow and mature and discover and have fun, all the things, but to actually learn what's going on around us. And so in the next video, we're gonna talk a little further in just some further stuff on kind of a how on some things, just some real basic stuff. We're going to talk about what does some things maybe look like, or how do you connect with things better, and maybe take those first steps. But just in wrapping up, what I want you to do, anyone watching this, if you have a question, I want you to put those questions in the comments, and it can be directly about the things I just talked about. You can question, you can even challenge me if you want, that's fine. I'm not afraid of that. I can't promise I have the answer to everything, but what I would like to do is you leave your question, and maybe we'll talk about that in the next video. And yeah, so feel free to ask away, and yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on The Unseen.